What's going on, guys? It's Cobbs with the Parlay Parlor, and welcome back to another edition of Fresh Out the Freezer, where I'll go through the NBA slate and give you my favorite bets, props, data for today. Let's have a quick recap of yesterday. The less said, the better, but let's be honest, there were just bad reads across the board. At least we got one win for whatever it's worth. Stephon Castle, 23 points and assists. He barely got that over for us. He had 9 assists and 14 points. Or 16 points and 9 assists. Other than that, terrible reads across the board. I went completely against my idea of the Hornets. They're a home underdog Saturday. I mean, it was snowing. It was just weird across the board. I mean, they blew them out of the water in the second quarter, and the less said, the better. Wemby, I had the idea that Musa Diabate was not gonna be able to take him on. I simply didn't factor in the fact that they could just double and triple team him like they did on several possessions. But if we go across the whole week, I mean, 14, 1, and 8 up until Friday, and that's kind of when shit hit the fan. It sucks, but the reads are there, and as long as we continue to track our results, and as I stress as much as possible, and I know the name, the Parlay Parlor, kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm about to say, but please play as many of these straight as possible. I do try to give them to you at fair value, and like I said, if there are juiced odds, I will tell you where to play those together. But in terms of 1 unit plays, you would still be in pretty good profit for the week. In any case, we have a new week. It is Sunday. We're going to do these Sunday to Sunday, I believe. I started off on Tuesday again, so we'll just do Sunday to Sunday. I think that keeps us in pretty good stand-in until the All-Star break, and then we'll see what happens from there. So let's start off with the Sacramento Kings and the Washington Wizards. The Kings will be coming to DC. We're going to go with Bob Carrington. I like him for 20 points and assists. You can currently get this for fairly even odds on FanDuel. I think DraftKings has it at same thing, minus 112. So really incremental value, depending on what books you can get this on. Matchup is there. This is primarily just a matchup play. The Kings are ranked 21st and 23rd, 2 points and assists allowed to the point guard position. So respectively, the 9th worst and the 7th worst team to defending points and assists to the point guard position. Trey Johnson is also going to be out. In terms of the data of games without Trey Johnson, there really isn't much there. The only thing that is there is recently is when they played the Sacramento Kings. Actually, I guess Outliers acting weird. Well, no, most recently I said head-to-head when the Wizards played the Kings. Bob Carrington got exactly 20 points and assists, and not a blowout. They were in it the entire game. And then recently, in terms of without Trey Johnson, the most recent outlier was against the Lakers, but that was a huge blowout of a game. In terms of the volume, he's getting up respectively the shots that you need. You're getting up 10 shots. You hope he makes 5 of them. The thing where a little bit of variance comes into the play is a lot of his shots are threes. But if we do look at where he likes to shoot his shots, 63% of them do come from above the break. And the Sacramento Kings aren't that good. They're a middling team when it comes to defending them from above the break. When we look at the lineups that they're going to come out with, Russell Westbrook is questionable. Recently, just overnight, the Kings traded Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis to the Cavaliers for DeAndre Hunter, and I think a pick. But in any case, their backcourt presence has been hugely decimated. I mean, you're going to have the likes of Westbrook, Zach LaVine, and probably some rookies coming in. But in any case, in terms of a perimeter defense, I only see Russell Westbrook wanting to, obviously, everyone's going to hustle. They're going to play their role. But from defending that perimeter, outside of Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, who would be the two players that and Russell Westbrook, who would be the players I would match up against Bob Carrington. After that, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to have free reigns of running the five, but he kind of might. I mean, he kind of might as well. Chris Middleton, I know he's projected to start, but it will be the third game in a row. I think that's pretty rare this season. And even if it is, I think for him to get probably 6-7 assists alone, I think his assist line is at 6. So if he gets 6 assists, I have no doubt in my mind, or I have let me not say no doubt. I'm quite comfortable with him needing to cover the rest at 14, 15 points. When we look at recent point guards to play the Sacramento Kings, I mean, everyone's been lining them up. Hayden Pritchard, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson, Janice Jacksons, Amon Quickly, and Jamal Shed. The outliers of Miles McBride and Craig Porter, you would probably point to Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell, who were playing at the 5, and in Miles McBride's case, Jalen Brunson. But as you can see right there in the same game, Jalen Brunson soared. Well, he exactly got this line, but that was in a relative blowout, I would assume. So Bob Carrington, 20 points and assists. You can currently get this for fairly even odds on FanDuel. Roughly the same thing across all books on the board. I don't really see this going up or down. There isn't necessarily another lean I would look at. Maybe if you want to take his assist, but I just wouldn't be comfortable if he ended up with 5 assists and he ends up getting 15 points, which would unfortunately cash the points and assists, but you wouldn't get the assist. And again, with points, I don't want a scenario in which he only gets 14 points and he gets 6 assists. So I'm going for a little bit more of a buffer, points and assists. The Kings, very bad defense to defend in the 5 position. They really are pretty light and when it comes to the 2 backcourt presence now with the trade of Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. So Bob Carrington, the opportunities will be there in terms of him scoring, in terms of him facilitating for the likes of Alex Sarr, who had a relatively good night against the Kings, I think, last time they played. Yeah, 22 points against the Kings when he played just 2 weeks ago. And for likes of Kashai George, who is very streaky, and they didn't have a good game against them last time. What was his utilization? He didn't play many minutes, only 23 minutes. He had a high amount of fouls and they were losing. So I think the opportunity is going to be there for Bob Carrington. We're only going to go with 3 props today. We'll stagger it throughout the week. Maybe tomorrow I'll come out with 6, and then Tuesday I'll do 4. Let's just kind of see. Let's try to get the ball in the hoop. Let's go positive again. Hopefully, finally get a sweep for what it's worth. So for our final 2 props, we're going to go to Madison Square Garden, where we have the Lakers facing off against the Knicks. My first prop is going to be Josh Hart, 14 rebounds and assists. You can currently get this for plus money across all the books. Just the prediction apps and DraftKings are the only ones that are valuing this as not as plus money. So when we look at the matchup, it does seem a little bit concerning when you look at rebounds and assists. The Lakers do play a relatively good defense to the 4 spot. But when we look at relative shooting guards that have recently played the Lakers, I don't think, many shooting guards don't play like Josh Hart. Kashai George, Jalen Tyson, and when you look at the likes of Jalen Tyson, Isaac Okoro, I see some outliers here. So Kashai George, Sam Merrill, Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Huerter, Ayo Dosunmu, and maybe even Kobe White. Kevin Huerter, we're seeing guys that are not going to get high usage, and we're seeing guys who are more traditional shooting guards. They're not going to try to rebound and crash the rim at the volume that Josh Hart does. I mean, when we look at the rebound opportunities, these are the rebound opportunities that we see for a center, a power forward. This is a shooting guard. for and while yes, this is under his season average of just around 13, is we have to play into mind that Josh Hart did miss a lot of minutes at the start of the season as he was coming back from injury. If we look back to last year, this is just under his average. And if we even try to finite it down into filters, if we look at home games and whenever the Lakers come to Madison Square Garden, it tends to be a competitive game. Let's give him at least 27 minutes. This goes up to a 60% hit rate. I am perfectly fine with that. And when it goes to head against the Lakers, again, this was last season, he soared over this line. He doubled it almost. No, he nearly doubled it. With 24, he soared over this line. He got it in nearly the rebounds alone, I meant to say. In terms of matchups, well, when we look at this, Marcus Smart will probably be focusing most of his time on Jalen Brunson, and Josh Hart would probably be defending the likes of Luka Doncic or LeBron James, depending on the way that they try to switch up possessions or set up possessions. I was initially looking at the full PRA alone because he has been pretty decent recently with hitting his shots. Teams allow Josh Hart to shoot whenever he's left alone above the break, and he plays aggressive enough where he can get putbacks or he can crash himself into the perimeter into the box. But I just feel safer taking the rebounds and assists. It's below his season average. It's below his season. His season average is below the line, but when we go off of whenever he plays minutes, we can look in away games as well, just regularly across the season. It goes into a 50-50 shot. And if we want to break it down into a more of a closer spread, let's just say that this is there's a loss. Let's see, they're losing. They're losing by 4 points. And that is not helping our favor. Let's say if they win. Well, okay, I think at this point, I'm playing his minutes. I'm looking into it a little bit too much. This is a narrative play. The Lakers are coming to Madison Square Garden, and it kind of plays into my last prop. Whenever teams come to the Garden, they go above themselves to give off a good performance, and especially when it's the Los Angeles Lakers. Iconic matchup, prime time. I mean, it's NBA Sunday night basketball, which is what NBC is trying to pitch off, I guess. This big new contract that they have in between the NBA, the NFL offseason. As they should. But Josh Hart, 14 rebounds and assists. You can get this at currently plus money. I wouldn't be surprised if either this goes down in value or they just pump it up to 14.5. We haven't seen any 14.5s. It did open at 12. I think money did come in heavily on that, and it's what pushed it to over. And it pushed the books to put this into over 13.5. I don't see this going to 14.5. If anything, I just see the price of it going down as more people go into it. I like it, Josh Hart. The other line I was considering was Jalen Brunson, and even 31.5 points in assist, 32.5 points in assist. No, it's gone up, or no, that was 32.5 points in assist. The matchup is there. The Lakers, as good of a defense as they are, when it comes to points and assists to the point guard position, they're there. I just couldn't get myself around it, even though when you look at supporting data of recent point guards to play them, a lot of these are in blowouts. And then the outlier is Jamal Murray, of course. Not outlier because Jalen Brunson's a star in his own regard, but Jalen Brunson just recently, he has just not been that efficient. You're going to get the volume, of course. He's going to be taken up in the mid-teens, high teens, low 20s in terms of shot attempts. He's going to attack the rim. Potential assists will always be there, but when you have Karl Anthony Towns going up against DeAndre Ayton, it's a weird center matchup. I'm just more comfortable with taking Josh Hart. And then we go off into the final prop of today. I'm not going to give you any leans. I'm just going to give you what I'm most confident about. I'm not going to lie, I really was a bit apprehensive coming out with a video today, especially after the results of last night and across the weekend. It didn't go well at all. I do apologize for that. I just do hope that we can turn the tide, and I can continue to at least give you. And there's some people that have told me, especially on Friday, with Ace Bailey and with Usher Thompson rebounds earlier, they were quite comfortable and honest with me. They said, "Hey, I personally have banned the Jazz. I just don't like that pick, honestly," and they cashed. And credit to them. I'm happy for them. I just want one sweep, and then any day after that, as long as we go positive, and it's not like we went 3 and 2. If I give you 5 picks, or I go 2 and 2, I want to consistently win more than we lose. That's the only way that we can guarantee profit. Enough rambling. The last pick for today is going to be the King, LeBron James. We are going to go with 33 points, rebounds, and assists. You can get this for roughly fair value across all the books and prediction apps. In terms of a matchup, it's there. When the Knicks aren't that good of a defense to the small forward position in across any of these fields, I was initially looking at the points and assists, which I think is 26.5. I can find that for you. Points and rebounds is 26.5. Which I also was looking at. Points and assists is 26.5 as well. So I figured, you know what? I guess if the books are favoring LeBron to have a night where he's going to be playing across the board, let's just go with the even 33 points and assists. It's just below his season average. When we look in away games, it is just there, but also I looked up some interesting stats. Whenever LeBron goes to Madison Square Garden, he actually averages around 27 to 28 points. It was like 27.2. And then there are some splits when it's a win or a loss. 6.8 rebounds and 6.4 assists. So in terms of, and honestly, I think LeBron comes back for another year, but there are some doubts. It's possible that this could be the last year we see LeBron. I mean, we're talking about a 41 going on 42-year-old. But if we look in games when he at least gets 28 minutes, which he likes going to the Garden, he's never played below 28 minutes at Madison Square Garden. He's above this line at 57% of games. The matchup is there. Austin Reeves is questionable, but he hasn't played since Christmas. And besides that, I mean, Bronny and this other guy, Adu Tiaro, isn't much of an outlier in terms of removing his volume. If he gets 9 minutes, there's no reason for him not to get this line. It's Sunday night. It's Sunday night basketball, Madison Square Garden. The league would want this to be a good performance for LeBron. We don't know if this is his last game at Madison Square Garden. It most definitely will probably be his last game at the Garden as a Laker. This, like I said, with Josh Hart, this was a narrative. This is more of a narrative play. Well, actually, it's a matchup and a narrative play. The reads are there. I think this is going to be an intense game. It's going to play like a playoff game. There's going to be playoff intensity. In a different world, this could be a finals matchup, and who knows? I mean, knock on wood, you never know. Never say never. LeBron James, 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And to cap it off, we're also going with Josh Hart. 14 rebounds and assists. And Bob Carrington, 20 points and assists. If you're still here, I do appreciate it. If you could like, subscribe, comment what you're rocking with, what you're not rocking with from today's props, what you're personally going to play, what you've looked into and researched. I would love to comment on it, or maybe you're going to give me some value, get me out of this rut. Let's turn things around, guys. If you're still here, I appreciate it. Like always, please gamble responsibly. Gamble these as straights. If you're going to parlay them, please parlay them after you've taken them as straights, because it'll always be that last leg. And as I will always say, may the odds be ever in your favor. Peace out.